one of the main issues when you shoot a Dune movie on dunes, you have to walk on sand dunes that you're shooting, and they're supposed to be pristine, out in the natural habitat of Arrakis. They become quite messy. We end up either making CG dunes or cleaning up dunes.
In this episode of the CG Pro podcast, we go deep with Jake Maymudes, VFX supervisor and founder of Wylie VFX, who worked on Hail Mary and all three Dune movies, among many other Hollywood blockbusters. It's a fun and light-hearted exploration of VFX today, how to work from anywhere, how AI is shaping our industry, how to create your own IP, how to start a business, leadership, entrepreneurship, and much more. If you enjoy our content, please do subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot and is the easiest thing you can do to help us to keep making these. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the CG Pro podcast. This is episode 99 with Jake Maymudes, founder and VFX supervisor at Wylie Co VFX. You can follow us at becomecgpro.com and sign up for the community newsletter. And our next free AI for Filmmakers webinar is on May the 7th at 12 Pacific time. We're going to be going through all the new cool AI tech in the film space, Cdance, LTX, HDR, Comfy UI, and Unreal Engine, and some other things as well. So today's guest has over 2 decades of experience in VFX at the high end, working on movies like Hail Mary and Dune, all the Dunes. So let me bring on our very special guest, Mr. Jake Maymudes. Welcome.
Hey there. 99. I'm excited.
Episode 99.
I'm excited to talk about all the dunes.
All
Let's
the
talk about
dunes.
all the dunes. Yeah, I love that.
Awesome.
There's a lot of dunes in Dune.
Yeah.
We created, manicured, and cleaned up a lot of dunes in the dunes.
How many dunes? Do you have a dune count?
We're on 3 dunes. We're in the middle of our 3rd dune right now. But that's not talking about the actual dunes in the Dune movies. One of the main issues is that when you shoot a Dune movie on dunes, you have to walk on sand dunes that you're shooting, and they're supposed to be pristine, out in the natural habitat of Arrakis. And they become quite messy, and we end up either making CG dunes or cleaning up dunes. It's kind of a funny thing.
So that's like a bulk of the work is dune painting out the footprints from dunes.
It's a big consideration on set and offset. On set, they're constantly trying to avoid making footmarks and cleaning them up. It becomes quite difficult.
I hadn't thought of that at all. That's really interesting. I've walked on a bunch of dunes in my life, and it's really hard. And yeah, you tend to make a mess of them for sure.
You make a mess of them quickly. And in most of those scenes that you see in these movies, they're walking on fresh dunes. They're like walking out in some majestic place, and they're the first sort of people to be walking on those sand dunes. So yeah, it's a quite complicated thing. It's kind of how much work goes into that.
I bet. Now you got me thinking about it. Now I want to see like a BTS entire special on to Dune cleanup, and like people being shouted at in the middle of the desert. Get off that Dune!
Unfortunately, there's so much spectacular work that goes into that movie from all the vendors. I mean, DNEG's work is incredible. That no one's going to talk about the Dune cleanup, but it's definitely a big thing.
I bet there's tons of it. Yeah, and it's really hard too. So does everyone start off like not getting as much work done at the beginning because it's really hard to walk up them?
Well, yeah, it's exhausting. Yeah, it's exhausting. I went out. I didn't go to UAE where they were shooting like a lot of the actual sort of natural Dune stuff, but I went out to Budapest for the shoot. It's so cool. It's just like so much fun. Those sets are so big.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I definitely want to get stuck into the Dune world, and I'm now like just thinking about Dune cleanup. That's all I'm thinking about. But tell me a little bit about how did you get to this point? You run and founded Wylie VFX, which is doing some amazing work on Hail Mary and Dune and Alien and all these amazing high-end blockbusters. But how did it begin for you? Was this something you always wanted to get into?
Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur from the start. I've always been since I was a little kid. I was an entrepreneur. I started promoting concerts at a really young age. I started promoting raves at a really young age.
Cool.
And that kind of grew into really large shows in my late teens, early 20s. And at the same time, I was fascinated with Photoshop and filming things and, sort of learning After Effects. So those two interests kind of merged into visual effects. Visual effects became a career path for me through Photoshop and sort of manipulating imagery. I found a school that was offering an animation degree, Expressions, in Emeryville, California. I think it's gone out of business or it was bought by another school. And then I don't know if the name changed, but the entity that I went to does not exist anymore. And I got an animation degree out of that. And just through being an entrepreneur and just grit, created Wylie Co 11 years ago. And here we are.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. Having a business for longer than 10 years statistically puts you in a very small number of businesses that made it that far.
That's amazing.
It's an accomplishment.
I didn't think of that. It's
like top 5%, I think, above 10 years.
Really? Is that right? That's incredible.
So.
Oh man, I'm going to tell my wife. Constantly looking for things to impress her. She's unimpressed by everything that I do. But
it drops off after 5 years quite a lot, I think, to 50%, and then really like tons after 10 years. Not many make it to 10 years. So good job.
That's amazing. I had no idea. I'm going to look that up. That's incredible. I mean, what's our secret? I don't know what our secret is. I think it's just being small and gritty. We're definitely lean. We don't have much management. We're mostly artists at the company, and our production team is quite small. I think that helps. We have very low overhead, and we can scale quite quickly. So if a big show comes in, we can scale as needed.
That's really important, as I've learned starting a business who only had this one for 6 years, but definitely get to know what overhead means. If you have too much of it, it's not always that great.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing in visual effects. The biggest thing is labor, which it should be. I enjoy paying my artists as much as I possibly can. I think you get the best out of people when you show them how much you care about them. But at the same time, it's a razor thin edge. So I can't carry that many people on overhead without just going out of business. So I try and make that as clear as possible up front when I hire people. It's like, I'll give you the best deal that I can give you, and I'll employ you as long as I have work. But when I don't have work, I can't employ you. And it's not a personal thing. It's just a circumstance. And this is just how
nature.
It is. Yeah. And
I think everyone gets that now.
Yeah. And everyone does. It mirrors what's happening on set. Being on set's a gig based thing. You do your film and then you're off.
Really cool that you got that similar background. It sounds like, because I actually started out as a VJ and got into computer graphics practically through that in the London rave scene in the 90s. Okay, so it sounds like we came from somewhat the same place. I didn't start out as an entrepreneur, but like more working for the classic MPC, ILM kinds of studios. But it sounds like you did too. So take me from the study to working, having your own business. What happened in the middle there?
Well, I was still in school, and I needed some work. And I was able to get an internship at Radium and Entropic. Those were both unpaid internships, just getting people coffee and helping out around the studio. And when I was at Radium in San Francisco, working for Nate, the ILM had laid off a bunch of artists, and Nate swooped up 3 really talented CG people from ILM. And one of those people was Pete Chesloff. And he and I just got along. We had basketball in common. And he basically helped me get a job at ILM. I started in the paint and roto department. I was pretty young. I was about 20 years old. And that was the start. I started there in 2001 or 2002, I think. And then that was it. I spent some time at some other big studios and eventually kind of realized that, software, off-the-shelf software was becoming a thing and had become a thing. And that really led me to this belief that, we could go out and without too much R&D or a large pipeline team, sort of create a visual effects company, which we did. And we spent a few years doing just kind of bottom of the barrel stuff and just hustling to stay alive. But because of my time at Digital Domain, Sony ImageWorks, ILM, and the Mill, eventually, after we proved ourselves that we were going to stick around, my friends and colleagues from those companies started to hire us. And that's when things became real. It wasn't overnight by any means. Year 1 through 5, we were doing just commercials and feature films that, you've never heard of. And it was after that long period that, industry leaders kind of realized that we weren't going away, that we were talented and reliable, I think is what you kind of want from a visual effects company.
As brand, right? Everyone has a brand individually or as a company, and you've got this trust. Essentially, trust is what a brand is.
It's all trust. Yeah. Hollywood is all trust. It's all who you know and being easy to work with. I like to think that that's my reputation, is that we're easy to work with and we provide quality work at a fair price. I think that's what I release out into the world. That's what I at least try to release out into the world.
Well, lasting for 10 years, you must be doing something right. So getting past that 5-year trust mark and then the 10-year, now you're in seasoned. I'm sure there's a lot of trust.
I say, I say that we're lucky all the time. I really do feel like we're lucky. Maybe that's being in LA. I know that this industry is incredibly hard, and there's so many visual effects companies out there who are capable of doing brilliant work. So, maybe it's just a personality thing, but I do feel like we're lucky. I mean, we've worked on some fantastic things, from Hail Mary, Dune, Daredevil Season 2, The Studio for Apple, Alien Romulus. We did Palm Royale for Apple recently. We did Ballerina, Last of Us, Thor, Terminator, The Killer for David Fincher. David Fincher is, I know him somewhat personally from working at Digital Domain. I was an artist on a few of his shows, Benjamin Button and Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So getting to be the main vendor for one of his films was spectacular. We did all the CG digidouble work of Michael Fassbender. It was super fun.
Amazing. Yeah, it must be a real validation there where you can do it within somebody else's company, but when you can actually do it for your own entity.
Yeah. And that was for Eric Barba. He really pushed us hard on that, and the work shows. It has that Eric Barba check mark of quality. He's not going to let anybody slide on anything. Yeah.
Jackie tells me he's good at that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Very cool.
That's how you win an Oscar. It's like just
have standards.
Standards.
Got to have standards and hold people to them, and then the leadership part kicks in to how you do that. How do you bring the team with you and keep them to that standard whilst maintaining a culture? Do you have any tips for that? Asking for a friend.
It's tough. Yeah, managing people, managing artists is tough. Giving notes, and it's a tricky thing to drive the creative integrity of a film and giving notes without upsetting people or hurting their feelings or just losing your cool in the first place. That's a talent by itself. And once again, I'm going to say that we get lucky. We get lucky to work for some of the best people who are capable of that, like Paul Lambert and Mag Sornoska on Dune 3. And Project Hail Mary. They're just so good at what they do. They have such a great eye and are capable of relaying notes and discussing with vendors in such a calm and collected way. We're so lucky to get to work with collaborators like that.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So in the moment where you went from working for studios like DD and had that impulse to go, the crazy impulse to go out and start your own company, which have some definite, like, I don't know what the right word is, but I understand that more now than I ever have. What was there a particular moment that made you decide to go and do that?
I, always wanted to do it. I have a high threshold for pain, and I think you kind of need that.
That would help.
You know,
Yeah.
if you if you want to, run your own company, I think that probably exists in any market, in any industry. You have to be sort of willing to sacrifice yourself. Um, but there was, yeah, I just, just being an entrepreneur, you just want to do it. I would have stayed at ILM. I would have stayed at Digital Domain and ILM if they, gave me a staff job and promoted me or something, or gave me um, more to do maybe before I was possibly ready. Just circumstantial things, I would have probably have stayed, but those things didn't happen. And I'm not saying this is not like a negative thing or any kind of comment on that situation. They just ran their course in a way that I went and started this company, and we're lucky that we get to work on cool films and we're still in business 10 years later. But I love those places. I would have, I still
Yeah, me too.
think about working at ILM because I was there in the golden years. It's such a magical time to be there. I was there in San Rafael, and I got to
Oh, cool.
move. I got to move to Presidio. Like I was there for those few years, and it was so great. I mean, like Dennis Muren was in the halls, and I, work with John Knoll, and George Lucas would be like walking around. We'd be working on one of his films. It was magical.
That's awesome. I didn't quite hit the golden years. Was it the Presidio on Jurassic World? But a childhood dream nonetheless, and still very cool. What was there? Was there a moment though? Because like it sounded like it's something you wanted to do forever. But was there a particular moment that made you go, "All right, I'm doing it now"? Like,
Honestly, it was being at the mill. So I was a supervisor at the mill for a while, and their, their pipeline wasn't spectacular. But ILMs and Digital Domains and Sony, their pipeline was very well made, and they're on several iterations of that pipeline, having like rebuilt it from scratch. Whereas the mill was just kind of like, it almost felt like just a bunch of computers and software off the shelf bolted together. That's what made me think it was possible. It was like, I don't need the engineering team. I don't need the pipeline team to start the company. I could start the company and bolt that stuff on later. I could find those people
I
later.
see. So was it like seeing how possible it was, experiencing how possible it was a little bit from that environment that made you think, I can do it?
It was really the mill. The mill showed me that if I had clients, I could potentially have a successful company.
Awesome. Well,
Which is still the case. I mean, like you have to have clients, right? If you can find people who trust you, then yeah, you might be fine on your own.
you definitely need clients. Yeah, it gets really, really hard to have a business without those.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. So tell us, I'd love to jump into talking about the film that I just saw recently, I guess, which is Hail Mary. And I learned things the other day about it, just trying to understand in it what was real, what was CG, what was, I'm hearing more and more about that, but without giving too many spoilers, can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to work on off the top?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was the executive producer for that particular project. So I wasn't the visual effects supervisor on our team. That was Elliot Brennan and Patrick Heinen for a little bit in the beginning, but the heavy lifting was done by Elliot Brennan. And our production team was Pamela Souza and Chris Dresnick and Sophia Baru. So, I kind of did the managerial administrative stuff. But that said, from a creative side, I'm still looking at everything and making sure it's up to our standards. And if anything, needed some more work, or if I saw some problems, I would always interject and step in. But for the most part, Elliot Brennan did a fantastic job running our team. We had 651 turned over post-vis shots, and out of that, 484 made it in the cut. And 584. Out of that, we moved on to finals, and we did We had 560 turned over finals, and 402 of those made it into the cut. So we provided a significant shot count to the film,
Yeah.
402 shots. That work was monitor comps, blue screen extractions, set extensions, CG work. One of the cool things we did was the star map, the CG star map. I'm actually have a crew gift here. I'm going to show you. This is the star map that we did. We're giving these to our staff members as notebooks. But this is the CG star map that we did for Hail Mary.
Cool.
I printed these little notebooks I'm going to give our employees so they can write notes.
That was awesome. Yeah, that little thing. So it was CG.
Well,
that model.
It depends. It was also on set, but just for continuity or blocking out a shot, like for whatever reason, if it wasn't used, we did it in CG. And this particular one, you kind of see like Ryan Gosling in the background, so he's looking at the star map, and the star map is in focus. This particular shot, it's CG.
Very cool.
Yeah,
there were so many cool practical and the boundary between CG and practical on that. being that I come from that world and have like a somewhat discerning eye, it made me forget about it. It made me forget about trying to look for it or trying to analyze it, which is kind of rare watching films.
That's one of the brilliant things about Paul, and also just that team, all the heads of department. But Paul really wants to get everything in camera and make it like he's a brilliant supervisor, and he's not going to make something a visual effect if it doesn't need to be.
For the sake of it, yeah.
Yeah, and he's going to, he works really well with other HODs, and it's really about finding that balance, using visual effects to tell a story, not necessarily to drive ticket sales, what's the best way of like getting the story across. And he's, you see it in the films that Paul's a part of. You can kind of look at all of them, and they all have like this level of visual effects quality that's stunning. It's also clean. I mean, there's a good chance that, Project Hail Mary and Dune 3, which he's doing, could be like pretty well received in award season this year, which would be kind of bonkers.
It would. Yeah, deservedly so, if so, because they were both fantastic. Well, I don't know. I haven't even seen the third one. Already saying it was great.
Well, we know it's coming. Yeah, it's going to be good. I mean, you got the dream team, Denis Villeneuve. Man, I can't wait to see it.
Me too.
On some of these things where I get to just do administrative work, I purposely don't look if I don't need to. So when I can go see it in the theater, I can see it for the first time. Dune 3, our team, since we've already done 2, I can like kind of step back and just kind of worry about staffing it correctly and, figuring out the finances of it. And I'll purposely try not to see it just so I can see it fresh for the first time in IMAX.
That's cool. I tried really hard on Jurassic World to not look at all the dailies through the review tool.
Yeah.
It was difficult. I really wanted to take a peek. Yeah, you do want to see it as a kind of fan of the work as well. And you mentioned something there that's interesting too in this day and age, going to the theater. It's a thing, an experience which we went to see Hail Mary in the theater and Dune 2. And those are the kinds of movies that definitely pull me in to want to go back to the ones that are still there. And it's a great experience still to me.
It's a great experience. Yeah. Any movie that I really feel like is going to be good, like if I have a good hunch that it's going to be good, yeah, got to see it in the theater. And not just spectacular space movies, but just kind of any movie. It's so fun to go to the theater. It's so great. And what's kind of nice is I've started to notice that, theater owners have kind of realized that if they don't like kind of step it up and like make a nice theater, like clean it up and, steam clean the carpets every 10 years, they're not going to get anyone to go. So I feel like every theater I've been into lately is actually like pretty nice. Like most likely has a reclining chair, most likely has stadium seating. The trippy thing is seeing LED screens. Have you been to theaters with LED screens?
I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, no. I mean, I've been in Sony's research facility and seen that and thought these should all be the way that we do screens now.
It's wild, yeah. So the first time I went into a AMC theater, middle of last year early last year, and I sat down and the picture came on, and I didn't see any glow above my head, and I looked around. Wait a second, there's no fucking projector. I couldn't believe it. Am I allowed to cuss on this?
No, no, that's it now. Sorry, got to turn it off.
I get one time.
No, go for it.
Just one time.
Feel free. Feel
Right.
free.
Yeah, no projector blew my mind. LED screen, mind blowing, and it looks fine. I prefer a projector, but it was very clean. I don't know what specs were, but it looked fantastic.
I think it's the way that there should be, because there are drawbacks to projection. There's certain things you can't get around any light bleed that happens, which happens with bounce light naturally, and it's quite hard. Even with like ultra high end laser projection, it's still quite hard to do. And HDR, I think you've got more possibility to do HDR with LED.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure that's where the technology is going to go. It just makes sense that it'll just get better and better and better. We'll probably start seeing that in homes. I know you can buy it now for your home, but it's just quite expensive. But when they make the 100-inch LED panel that you just pop in by yourself for $2,000, I'll definitely sign up for that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. I love the experience of going and yeah, it seems to be that type of movie that draws me in. What do you think about the kind of future of theater and what things are likely to get into the theater versus onto the streaming, which is what changed our whole industry, really, is the streaming?
It's a whole thing. We're actually developing a cartoon in-house right now. It most likely will end up on YouTube, but we're going to show it around and see what kind of traction it gets. It's a kids cartoon. It's a full CG kids cartoon. We're hand animating everything, and we've teamed up with these two musicians, actors, who are doing the voices for the lead characters. It's kind of cute. It's kind of like it's for like 3-year-olds to 7-year-olds, somewhere in there. It's a musical based cartoon set in
awesome
land. Yeah, it's quite fun.
Oh, super cool. Well, definitely share that with us if there's anything that we can see and share with the community as well. I'd love to see it. I have one kid that's still in that zone.
Yeah.
It sounds great.
We're almost ready to release the trailer. I'll definitely send it to you when I get close.
Amazing. Well, that's a really cool thing to talk about as well. So a number of people have spoken about that kind of thing on the show, and I think every VFX artist gets into the industry wanting to make their own work. And my first mentor tried to crush that dream. It didn't work because I have made a few things over the years, but they said, don't get into this industry if you want to make your own work. And here you are proving that person wrong.
Yeah. Well,
making some of your own work.
Yeah, absolutely. It most likely won't go anywhere. Let's just be honest. I think that it's so incredibly hard to make something that ultimately does well, and that is a financial success. It's definitely an uphill battle, but we're going to put a lot of heart and soul into it, and we're not rushing it. We're going to take it very slow and really try and do it right. So who knows? It might get out there, might be seen. It's called Angel. It's called Zoe and Angel is the name of the cartoon, Zoe and Angel. And yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
That's great, though. I mean, what a cool thing to do. We had Scott Ross on a few episodes ago talking about the desire for VFX companies to create IP, and it's been something I guess Pixar succeeded at jumping into that. Very few people have, because as you said, it's hard to do, but still possible, and still something that. Are you doing it? What's the motivation? I guess because you're enjoying it. It sounds like. I
have 2 daughters, so I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old.
Gotcha.
So I'm making it for them. They're just like my demographic. So I'll come home and show them, some renders, some test animation, and kind of get their opinion. They tend to love everything, so I'm not getting like the Eric Barba level of critique. So I feel like maybe I should send it to Eric just so he could, tell me what's wrong with it. But yeah, they seem to love it. But I think they would love anything, animated characters singing and dancing. It
What a
is.
cool thing, though. What a cool thing to be able to do, to make something there's going back not too far, that wouldn't have even been a thing, let alone, it's still hard, but it's not very long ago. And at the beginning, 20 something years ago, it was only possible to do CG at ILM.
Yeah,
And then it became more and more possible. And now you're doing it
yeah.
because you want to.
It's still, the whole production is still a heavy lift. I haven't told my wife how much the company's spending on it. I don't think she would appreciate, the investment that we're putting into this cartoon.
Till she sees the smiles.
Yeah. How much did that smile cost?
Yeah. It'll be a big smile. We'll tell the kids, like, smile big for this one.
Yeah.
But
really back to your Scott Ross conversation, it also is a hedge against the future. We do believe that we would be better off if we had some sort of control over our own IP, just as a long-term play. And this is just a test. And if it fails, it'll still look good. It'll still look good enough that we could at least show it to clients who do full CG animated features and say, we could do a scene or do a short film. Like we could potentially use it as a showpiece for that kind of work.
As a real resume builder anyway. Yeah. Super cool. So it's a win. It's a win whichever way. You're going to make your kids happy. Could be a resume piece, and who knows, it could take off.
Yeah, totally. So we'll see. We'll hope for the best.
That's great. Well, it seems like it's a very timely moment to do that in, because the traditional pipeline is being challenged, and the capabilities, the ability to be able to do this kind of work seems to be getting somewhat easier, although you're making it all traditionally by the sounds of it. Have you experimented with any of the obviously must mention topic on any podcast of today, which is generative and AI?
So we are going to try and figure some AI tools on this cartoon specifically, since we own the IP and there's no real worry about just IP issues, right? There's no since no one owns it yet. We haven't sold it. It's just like kind of our own in-house thing that we're working on. We are going to try and once we develop, the look is developed, but once we have, I think that we could potentially generate cutscenes or small shots by feeding exactly what we want, because we want to control all of the visual aspect of it. I don't necessarily want any generative artwork in the cartoon, but I'm willing to give a free pass if we're giving an AI model all of our artwork and having it sort of move it or animate it in a particular way. So that's the goal. For instance, if we need a cutaway of a character reacting to something, we'd feed the AI model the character and then prompt what we want, and if we can sort of get a response that we like, maybe that little shot would make it in the edit. And we're testing it out. And the results are insane. It's insane.
Yeah. What does it make you think seeing that? And as a sort of maybe a lead-in question to talking about the industry's adoption, opinion, things that you're seeing out there, but what does it make you think looking at those results?
Yeah. AI is such a talking point for visual effects and visual effects podcasts in general.
Yeah. Sorry to be another guy asking you AI questions.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I listen to a lot of visual effects podcasts, and it's funny how often AI comes up, and it's on everyone's mind. It's on everyone's mind. I recently gave a talk to a high school in Las Vegas. I was presenting our work and talking about the company in front of a magnet high school for the arts in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it was an auditorium filled with 500 kids. Everything was going great. It was a long talk. It was like an hour long. 2/3 of the way in, AI comes up, and I just hear like this hiss, just like negative hiss. Like I just like almost like a boo. Yeah, it was like I dropped the ball just by even bringing it up. So it's a touchy subject, and it's
with the youth too. Like it seems I've heard that a couple times recently.
Yeah.
Even more than us old folks.
Because they're auteurs. They're like, when you're young, you want to believe that your future is going to be this magical sort of career path, and you'll have some great auteur path. And I hope they all do. That's what I wanted when I was in high school. I wanted to be a successful artist.
Me too.
Yeah, it would suck if AI took that away from anybody. AI is tricky. It's another tool for me. It's just another tool. It's like so integrated into Photoshop already. It's really hard not to hit that generative button in Photoshop. And that's like just kind of what's happening. I was using that generative button yesterday. I had some thing that like the left side of frame wasn't there, and I didn't feel like using the clone tool to like deal with it. And it was something I wanted to just get out for a client in 2 seconds, and just like circled the left side, hit generate. It didn't even prompt anything, just generate. And it filled it in pretty spectacularly. And
it's got mind reading down as well.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, where is it going to go? Who knows? I don't have an answer. I don't think anyone has an answer. I think if you had an answer, you're probably wrong.
Yeah.
The world.
People like to guess.
Yeah.
And sound confident about it.
The world is moving so fast that it's hard to predict. And it's not just effects. Like it's not just this industry. It's all
every industry.
Yeah. I'm using Claude in Excel right now, and I made I'm raising money for a startup that is just a data center startup. Like it's a new company that's going to have kind of boutique style data centers. And I built out my financial deck in Excel with Claude, and it's like phenomenal. It's just like, it's crazy what you can get out of Claude. It makes me feel like I'm a functioning CFO, despite just being a compositor who has to, put together financial spreadsheets every once in a while.
You can at least be a CFO QC or CFO's assistant.
Yeah.
Claude is our boss.
Yeah, Claude is the boss. Yikes. Yeah.
I'm fascinated to ask more about this just for a minute, because I think it is a hot topic. I mean, to me, it's computer. I've got into computer graphics when I was 6, and for 40 years I've been pursuing it, and this is still graphics and computers. So to me, it's still the same bucket. But having this kind of magical capability to me I feel very excited and concerned in some ways as well, but excited. And if you can hit a button that makes something easier, and then there's the old way you used to do it over there, like, are you going to do it the easy way or the old way? I don't know. Maybe a better question is, then where do you think it's going to go? Where would you like it to go?
All right, artists will always be artists. So I think that, I hope, and if I had to guess, this is kind of what I think, is that spectacular artists will always create spectacular art. And if they're going to use it, I can't wait to see what they come up with, because it's going to be wild. And it's as simple as that. I mean, the people who don't want to make art aren't going to use it, aren't going to make art. That's fine. And the people who do want to make art are going to use it. That's it. But, honestly, I'd love to hear your opinion, because you talk to so many people about this. I'm kind of just in the weeds, and we see tools and we try and gather the ones that are useful to us and implement them and use them how we can. But you're really talking to sort of industry leaders about this a lot. I mean, if you had to combine all of that into one projection or one thought about AI, what's your thought on AI?
If I had to combine everyone's opinion, it would be like a horribly twitchy person that couldn't make sense of its own thoughts, because they're so all over the place that I think. But the predominant feeling when you're talking, I had again Scott on the podcast 9 episodes ago, and his view of it, having seen all the starting Digital Domain and seeing all the things that he's seen, was to not ignore it, was the big takeaway, and that he felt it was going to influence things very significantly, to kind of paraphrase, and you can put it into Scott's language probably yourself, but like his opinion is, do not ignore it, and it's going to change things very significantly. Then there's all sorts of other people who have different opinions. Some of it comes from the space of being angry at it. Sometimes people are excited about it. I see a lot more people now from the VFX world becoming more excited by it and the things that it's unlocking, the capabilities, the speed ups, the things. I used to be a software engineer, and my last code project was for nearly 400,000 lines approximately of code, which took a really long time to write, and a lot of people, and to make it good, it took a lot of effort. And I think those kinds of projects still do take a lot of effort, but the speed at which you can make something at least appear is incredible. So for me, it's like the most creative thing I've ever seen computers do in my lifetime, by an order of magnitude, the most creative thing. And by creative, I mean what Einstein's definition is, which is combinatorial play. It can combine ideas together and birth new combinations of things infinitely and instantly. And but what it doesn't do in anything that I use it for, including writing and creating and all of it, is have, from my perspective, any taste. So I generally rewrite and I QC the crap out of it, and but as a performance enhancement and how good it's getting at listening to you and doing what you want it to do is just getting so much better so quickly. But it's enabling me to do things I couldn't have done before, like making apps for my children and cartoons and things that are just, there's extra joy coming out of it from me, because I didn't have the time to do those things before. Now I can do them. And are they all good? No, but my kids are still like, I made an app yesterday for my daughter and she wouldn't get off it. No, it was awesome. It was so much fun. And so I'm personally very enthusiastic about it, and I probably will incite some hate by saying that. But I'm an optimist too. But from what I see, it's a full spectrum of excitement and fear go together. So the excited people are also a bit scared by it. The scared people are either excited or not. Sometimes that's just angry. Most often, the angry people are not actually trying it and are angry because they're, I think, scared that it's going to take something away from them, which is a genuine thing to be concerned about. Absolutely. But I look backwards to a whole history of humanity, of all the jobs that we've ever done being taken away from us. I think the concerning part now is the speed and the fact that maybe it can self-improve. But the full spectrum of out there of people who are terrified by it, excited by it. I'm personally quite optimistic, and I'm very enjoying using it at the moment.
I'm in the same boat. It's incredible. The things that I find the most fun about it are the things I can't do myself. So, writing code, like you said, using this, filling out my spreadsheet.
I'll take that job away from me, please.
Yeah. So I get it from an artist perspective, because when I use it for creating art that I can do myself, by just all it's doing is speeding up the process. I do get upset, like I do take it personally. So I understand that argument, and I understand why
me too.
High schoolers, were hissing, like ready to be, we're so passionate about how they felt about it. I totally get that. And then there's that paradox of, for those of us who use it for something that we can't do, and all of a sudden we can do it. So how great is it for someone who doesn't do visual effects that they can do visual effects? Like some random person and somewhere in the world wants to entertain someone, they can have an idea and prompt it and show it to someone and make them laugh or cry or whatever. It's kind of magical. It's kind of cool that technology has enabled that.
It's enabling more people to tell stories, which I think is there's a blessing and a curse to that for sure. Some people, maybe you don't want to be able to tell stories, but if everybody can, like, let's keep coming back to the ILM thing. Like at the beginning, when I dreamed of doing it when I was 15, I wore the pages out on the Making of Jurassic Park book and wanted that so badly. I couldn't, because it was only being done in that one building on the planet Earth. That was the only place where CG was really being done in film anyway. And then it slowly grew and grew and became more and more open. And now, as you said, everybody can do it. Where it goes from here, I don't know, but I guess we're going to find out one way or the other.
We're gonna find out. That's what humans are great at. We don't like sitting still.
No.
It's yeah. There's never a moment where humans are like, "All right, we did it. This is cool. Just stay here." It's
Yeah.
always let's just one up this. Let's just
Except maybe the royal family.
yeah. Let's just change it. Which is because you still have those tribes like deep in the Amazon or in
Yeah.
there are these little collections of people who throughout human evolution have just kind of like been cool. Just like, nah, we don't need that. Like we just
This is
don't need
peak.
that.
That was peak humaning. Maybe it
Yeah.
was like being in the jungle and
It'd
just
be kind
being.
of nice just to be like, nah, I don't need to change. I don't need a new version of Photoshop ever. I don't need Maya 2.1 was fine. I'll just stay with that. Nuke, whatever, 8, something, stay with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
There.
One thing I could share with you from that question that I've observed the most, probably through running a training company, training thousands of people, interviewing tons of people, and doing all this stuff, is that predominantly people do not like change. Even the ones who like change don't like change. Like when it actually happens, it makes you feel uncomfortable. People don't like feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And yes, there's a full spectrum of like people who run after change and want it and try and make it happen faster, and then all the way back to conservatism, essentially, which is what you're describing. People are fighting to hold on.
Yeah. And then AI is just turbocharged. That's the problem. I mean, that's why a lot
The
of people have
speed.
a hard time with it, because it's going faster than any of us can really comprehend. No one's slowing down to say, how is this going to affect us? I don't know, 5 years from now.
What do you think in terms of industry usage of it, adoption of it? I know that there's a lot of commentary out there about using it in pre-production because it's a little easier to get away with. But
I mean,
what are you seeing out there?
The IP thing is real. So I think that, I think the lawyers should get involved of the world and just kind of dig in and sue the crap out of everybody. If you're an artist and your work is being trained on, and then part of a model that's being used somewhere else, that's for profit, or, I don't know, if there's money involved, you should be compensated. If your art is part of something that's being trained, that's a real thing. But once that's sorted out, I think, great, let's get it. Let's use it. Let's make it a real thing. Let's use it in feature films and whatnot. But that part has to be sorted out.
There's a few companies that are trying for that, like Moon Valley and Adobe have a strong narrative, at least in that. It seems like some people are trying to stick with that as we figure out the law. And then the law is also being disrupted by AI itself. That one of the industries that probably is being turned upside down the most.
But I really don't have a huge problem with it once the IP issue gets resolved. As long as artists are being paid for their artwork, then then I think it can be a free for all. It'll be interesting to see where AI goes once it's just training on more AI and it just becomes like this cycle. Does it just implode on itself and just start
eating its own tail? Yeah,
eating its own tail. So who knows?
My last job was actually synthetic data, or related to synthetic data, for a race car championship, but it was part of autonomous drive training, which is producing CG imagery to train computer vision for driving. But yeah, you could definitely. It needs synthetic data as one of the challenges, because there's not enough data, but it can start to degrade. Yeah, it'll get very interesting. We have a couple of questions actually I think one of them was already answered here from the audience. How are you using AI, if at all? It seems like you are exploring it and seeing where its edges are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we use a lot of the IP free tools that are out there, like I said, Photoshop and After Effects, a lot of the Adobe products, even Autodesk Flow is pretty crazy. So Autodesk bought
Wonder Dynamics or Wonder Studios.
Yeah.
Turned it into Flow.
So we were in Wonder early, and then it got bought, and now it's Flow. I mean, that's a trip. So anyone who's listening or watching this, if you want to try something, you can go and videotape yourself, upload it to Autodesk Flow, and basically
become a robot,
become a cartoon character in a couple of clicks. If you want to bootstrap a kid's cartoon, I mean, you could potentially do it there. we're thinking about using that for our cartoon. We've done some tests, and um, we'll see. We've done more tests than that. We haven't found a real use case yet, despite doing a bunch of tests. So I think we're still paying for a license, and I don't know if anyone's using it. We'll see. Maybe we'll stop paying for the license.
Well, it's an interesting concept, though. You sort of essentially what that one incarnation represents is a bunch of jobs in VFX. So doing rotomation, doing paint out, doing some compositing, doing some CG, some lighting. There's like a whole string of things that you're trying to say you can kind of subvert that and get to a quicker result.
Yeah.
But those processes are still essentially, we're modeling things like performance capture and look development and various things that still require the human in that loop, the taste, the design, the cap performance itself.
When I started at ILM in the paint and roto department, and when I ask myself, am I upset that job doesn't exist anymore? And I don't know, like, not really. I loved working at ILM, and I genuinely loved being in the paint and roto department. I feel like I contributed. I did hard paint shots. The roto was just, you're sitting there day after day just rotoing something. Does it bum me out that job, may not even exist in the future because AI will just roto everything? I don't know if I'm bummed. I think that for me personally, I wanted to be a compositor, and if that means only compositing jobs are available, maybe that's even better, because for young me, I would have just been hired as a compositor rather than, maybe the ground floor is now just coming up a little bit. Like entry level jobs will be, junior compositor rather than paint and roto.
Got to learn more to get in there, maybe.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
one of the things.
I just hired.
Go ahead.
I just hired a junior compositor yesterday. 20-year-old kid. That's when I started at ILM as paint and roto. He's starting at my company as a compositor, and he's doing roto, which is funny. But
right, there you go.
His first day is actually doing roto, but he isn't.
Still got to cut your teeth.
Yeah, he technically has the title of junior compositor.
I've got another question here that says, right now, do you think it's easier to get a job in LA or San Francisco? Interesting question.
Oh, man, my honest opinion is that it doesn't matter. It does not matter where you live. I don't care where you live.
Because of remote.
I will hire you if you live in Nebraska. If you show me that you're a good artist and you're talented and you just want to be on a team and you're easy to work with, Hollywood's a funny thing. What matters most if you want to make it in Hollywood is probably being easy to work with. If you're just a good hang, easy to work with, you'll probably do fine in Hollywood. That same thing goes for my company. I want you to be a good artist, but most importantly, I want you to fit into the team. We don't hire assholes. So, that's like a huge thing. Like,
be nice.
Yeah, be nice. Let's have fun and communicate. And like, we're all, just trying to make a cool movie, like it'd be cool if we were all heart surgeons trying to save someone's life, but we're not. We're just making Hail Mary or Dune. Like, let's have fun, let's get along. That's a long answer to that question. Can you live in some place other than LA or San Francisco? Yeah, 100%. I'm happy to look at your reel. I don't even look at location anymore unless I'm doing something that requires a rebate, like a labor-based rebate. Then I would be hiring someone in a particular place. So, if I'm adding people to my Montreal team, technically they can live anywhere in Quebec. So as long as their resume says Quebec, I don't care that they're not in Montreal. Same thing goes for my New York team for the New York rebate. Same thing goes for the LA rebate. I think that's a bigger issue for employment than where you live. Is if, unfortunately for visual effects, who has the best rebate? Great. You want to work in visual effects or get in, go to London right now. They have the best rebate. They're going to be on a hiring spree, hiring people in London.
You heard it here, folks. Yeah, it's not a bad town. Not a bad town. I got a lot of good things to say about it.
Yeah, but also if you just have a good like, if you're not, if you're an affordable artist, you can live anywhere and get hired. You could live in Florida, Nebraska, whatever. Live anywhere. And you can also be extremely good if you're a senior phenomenal artist. You can make your own rules. You can live anywhere you want and charge whatever you want because you're just the best at what you do.
That's a great piece of advice right there. Just those two things: be really, really, really good, but also be nice.
Yeah,
Because if you're really, really good, even if you're really amazing, and you're not nice, then you still might not get hired.
yeah.
Some people might hire you, but
You won't make it on my team, but
no.
you make it. You make it for a little while. We'll put up with a little bit, but eventually, it's we'll go with someone who's nice.
Yeah, it's an important thing I think for people. And some advice I got when I was first starting out in London, somebody told me that it was Alan at Golden Square, and he said, "Be nice to people. Be nice because you're on your way up. At some point, there other people are on their way through or down or wherever, whichever way you're going. You'll just be nice wherever you are." Some of the best advice.
Yeah, like the intern that you hire could ultimately be your boss.
Yeah, really soon. That can happen really quickly.
Yeah, I think with AI, that's going to speed that stuff up. Like, who knows? I've seen it so many times where the people that you work with years later, or have fantastic jobs and are doing whatever. Got to be nice to everybody.
What another question here? What about the industry makes producing your own original content an uphill battle?
I feel like I'm pretty well seated in the industry. I know a handful of sort of industry leaders. I don't think it matters one bit when I make my cartoon. When we produce our own cartoon, no one's going to care. Oh, these guys, they're like we're going to have this cartoon ready to shop it around town. Maybe that will get me in a meeting, but that will not get me a deal or some kind of like development deal or lock in a sale for the show. Hollywood's kind of funny like that. I think that everyone's still just on the you're still just, I don't know. There's no favoritism unless you have some hits. You have a track record of making some hits. Doors fly open. But anyone starting out, a kid in his basement will have the same level of it'll be the same for them and for me trying to sell a cartoon, like with no connections whatsoever. And me, I have lots of connections. It would be the same if the kid in the basement made a phenomenal cartoon. It would sell over mine because it's just better, right? Just like,
so the quality speaks for itself.
Like, is it brilliant or not? That's all Hollywood cares about. Do you have a brilliant story to tell? Great, you're in. Are you been around for 20 years and have this successful company and you generate your own IP and it's not very good? Yeah, no one's gonna buy it. It doesn't matter.
What advice would you give to people starting out these days? What things would you learn? What things would you focus on?
Blender's great. If you can get Nuke, if you can figure out a way to use Nuke without paying for it, as a student or before you need to pay for it, Nuke is great. After Effects is a great substitute for that. So those three there. So if you can figure out what you love about visual effects, visual effects is so compartmentalized that you can really specialize in a bunch of different aspects of it. Figuring out what part you really resonate with first helps a lot. If you're a good compositor, but you're studying 3D animation and it's a struggle for you, figuring out that you're a compositor and not an animator sooner than later is very helpful. It could go the other way. You could be a really great animator and not a good compositor. Stick with what resonates, what you really love. I really love compositing, and it never felt like work when I was a compositor. I was always happy to sort of do any aspect of that. So I think, just stay true to yourself. Just because someone's hiring a camera tracker position and you may be on the 2D side, maybe avoid that job because you might not like it. It might sour your taste of the industry. And it is a great place to work. There's a lot of amazing people in visual effects, in post production in general. I think out of all the industries or all the parts of the film business, I think that visual effects is particularly great. I think there's a lot of great personalities and a lot of wonderful people in visual effects, more so than other parts of the industry. So I think it's always a good decision to kind of get into visual effects if you can. And by all means, I don't think you need to move to LA or San Francisco.
Sometimes you have to learn new software really quickly, as I found out at ILM, and having to learn Xeno in 3 days and start cranking shots out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the fundamentals, so you can
fundamentals.
You can do it. You
That's
just
it.
don't know what buttons to push, but you know that you need to push buttons. You just don't know where they are.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, the fundamentals are super important. One last question here: what was the most surprising thing to you about working on Dune movies?
Oh man, that's the most surprising thing about working on the Dune movies. That is a tough question. Well, I was a huge fan of the David Lynch version, but I was happy to see Denis doing his version, and I knew it was going to be good because I was a huge fan of Denis and his work. So I mean, just how good it was. It's such a joy to work on a good movie. I've worked on a lot of bad movies, and no one sets out to work on a bad movie. It just doesn't exist. And there's so many. It's so hard to make a movie. When people go and see a bad movie, sometimes they just they overlook that part that no one on the credits set out to make a bad movie. They were all hoping it was going to be great. All of them. For a long time, they all believed that it was going to be great. And then maybe at some point, they're like, oh, fuck. This one's going to turn out like shit. One of the things that was surprising about Dune is from day one, you're just like, oh yeah, I made a right choice. We're working on a good one. This is going to be awesome.
So you could just feel it everywhere. You just knew that all the decisions being made were the right ones, and like it's been cared for.
Yeah, and I would rather make less money in Hollywood and just work on like really brilliant, good movies than make more money and not do that and do whatever. Kind of an obvious statement, I guess, but working on
not necessarily
working on great movies is what I came to Hollywood to do. It's very fulfilling.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's also for people starting out, it can be a very confusing concept because you don't know what you don't know at the beginning, and you're trying to do something that you love, but you're also confused about all the signals about doing things that are recognized by the public or pay a certain amount, or and you're trying to build your reputation and build your skill set, and it can be very confusing at the beginning, I think, to know where to aim for in that.
When I started, I would do everything. Anything anybody asked, I'd do it for free. I'd help friends out. I'd help out on indie films. If you love doing it, you just do it. Like you do it without getting paid. If you get, once you're exceptional at something, people are going to pay you. It just goes. Like if you're just the best at that thing, you could just get paid.
As you say, if you're the best in the world at something that people need, you can name your price.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, it's a great way to find out what you love is to do it for nothing as well. Like if you will do it anyway, if you'll be doing it anyway, that's a great signal for something that you really enjoy, that you really feel like you want to grow in. Thank you, Jake. Thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate your time and your spirit and like encouragement and enthusiasm for this craft. I really enjoyed talking about it.
Thank you. I really do appreciate you being here. Thank you.
You bet. Of course. Well, thank you also to our studio audience for coming in and asking great questions. And if you are around in a couple of weeks, come and join us for our next episode 100. Announcement to come for who that's going to be. But yeah, huge thanks to our guest Jake and to our listeners today. Our next free AI for Filmmakers webinar, as I said, is May 7th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to be covering AI filmmaking tools. It's free. Come get a lesson on us. And we will see you again in another couple of weeks. But go out, keep growing, keep making cool stuff, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care, everybody.